Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of writing exponential functions. This is standard A.9C in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 40 of the 2016 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have a table, we have an exponential function, so that's one thing that we need to know, and we need to find which function best represents this relationship here. Well, we need to know what our standard form of exponential functions is, so that's going to be y equals a times b to the x power. Now what do we know about these terms? Well, a is your principal if you are dealing with compound interest. It's also your starting point, and usually we can just simply call it the y-intercept. And we call it that y-intercept because when this graph crosses the y-axis, that means x equals 0, right? So your x equals 0 means that you have this exponent of 0, which anything to the power of 0 just becomes 1, which means that whole thing goes away, and it's just a. So that's our y-intercept. Our b is going to be our rate, and it is going to either be a growth, if it's growing, or a decay rate. And then this x, that's your step. Usually it's time, like years, weeks, months, and it's exponentially growing or decaying. So we do have a y-intercept of x equals 0 here. We've got it right there. So we can start this by saying y equals, and then our a is going to be 0.0625, which eliminates everything except for that h, right? So that's looking like h right now, but how do we find this b? We don't need the x, because that's typically reserved for the independent variable, but we do need a b. So there's a few different ways we can find the b. Since we have, look at these steps here on the x, 0, 1, 2, 3. So since these are just a step of 1 every single time, the simplest way is to take your y-coordinates and you divide each y-coordinate by the one before it. Okay, so 4 divided by 1, well, that makes 4. Let's try it again. 1 divided by 0.25. That also equals 4. What about 0.25 divided by 0.0625? Well, it's a bit tricky, but it's also going to be 4. And this only works because your x coordinates are steps of 1. So that means that is going to be your b, or that is your growth rate, is that 4, because that's how much they went up each time. And then we go like this. Now, if you didn't have those steps of 1, then this is what I would suggest, is you would take this right here, and you would just plug in an x and a y. So let's say that y is 4, 0.0625. That b is what we're looking for, and then that x is 3. And really here what we're doing is we would end up solving, right, for that b. Okay? And so what we can do here is we can divide both sides by 0.0625, right? So let's do that. And we're going to get some really big number there, but we'll see what that is for 4. So 4 divided by 0.0625, we're going to get 64 equals b cubed, and then we just need a cube root of each, right? And that's going to cancel that out, and guess what we get? Still equals 4. So either way you look at it, you can plug in an x and a y. This x and y pair might have been a little bit easier than the 3 and the 4, but it would still end up with that same thing. So here is our answer. And we are going to say it is H.